Welcome, everyone, to another Nolan Rossi podcast. Today, this episode is called How I Move. I have been in this great shift of how I relate to my body, and it's having profound effects on things like how I relate to my mind, my spirit, my heart, and how I relate to the world around me. It's like fine-tuning and gaining a deeper understanding of this technology that is my body is opening up all different worlds and possibilities that didn't exist before. Before I get into things today, a little checkup, because I'm doing this over this 90-day period. I'm calling it this 90-day opportunity to engage with my body differently, to relate to it differently. And I'm 3 weeks in now, and I have lost about 10 pounds so far. Last week, I talked about how I nourish, how I am adjusting my calories in to create this energy or calorie deficit. That is a signal to tell my body to use the energy stores in my fat, and as a result, I'll lose body fat, which is one of my goals here. Now, I've done this before, and so I was able to jump into my deficit numbers with more certainty. And so I started the first week at about 2,200 calories, and the next week I jumped down to 2,100 calories, and that's where I'm staying. I'm targeting about 140 grams of protein, anywhere between 140 all the way up to 170, depending on that day. I'm allowing myself a fair amount of flexibility this point early on in this 90 days as I start to feel through what feels good for me and try different things out. And 10 pounds is a great starting place for this thing. Also, I am aware that whenever you are going from what I would call an unconscious way of relating to your body in terms of what you're eating and maybe your activity levels, the minute you put yourself on a plan, a lot of things can shift very rapidly. And so the 10 pounds was almost to be expected because of how I know and how I've got a greater awareness of how my body reacts to these sorts of things. But there is a truth there that's really encouraging for anyone that's considering something like this. And the general idea is that the more body fat percentage that you have to lose, the quicker it can actually come off at the beginning, because there's a lot of room to move the lever, so to speak, of what you're doing to elicit the responses and the goals that you're after. So know that if you feel like maybe you're too far gone, or it's been ages since you went to the gym or even went for a walk or thought about anything like changing your diet, you are probably in a better situation than I am at the start of this. Having gone through it before, knowing the training, I've got the experience, the knowledge, the understanding of my body, which maybe you don't have. But if you have a lot to modify, then you actually have a lot of possibilities there. So be encouraged by that, and know that all of this is about a shift from the way things used to be for me into this new way, and all of it is being held by compassion, because we need to love our bodies at whatever stage that we're at. And whenever we're trying things like this for the first time especially, there's going to be bumps and unexpected things along the way. We're going to try something for the first time, and we're going to fail at it. We're going to make a mistake. If you've never weighed your food or tried to be thoughtful and conscious in this matter, there's a whole learning in just the measuring and understanding of how to create your meals and how to think about it this way, because you never have. And remember that your body is always looking for this homeostasis. And if we're ever trying to make a change, then we're pushing our bodies out of whatever the normal homeostasis is. And so it's going to be uncomfortable to some measure at the beginning. That's to be expected. And we're also rewiring and relearning some of the brain chemistry that goes on, because you've heard of this thing called a runner's high. There are people that are very involved in fitness for their entire life, and they talk about these sorts of highs that you get from working out or from running, whatever it may be. And what's going on there is that your body can be trained into receiving a dopamine hit in the brain. This is your feel-good chemical for doing physical activity, for working out, or for going for a walk. But if you're coming from a place where that's not the case, and you're getting dopamine hits from sitting on the couch and watching another show or eating another bowl of cereal, places that I've been before, and I am keenly aware that that dopamine hit feels so good, understand that there is some time, it can take weeks, even months, to help your brain relearn and begin to get these dopamine hits from these new activities that are not only a positive effect in your brain chemistry, but in your metabolic health, in your mental health, in the way that you move. So please keep that in mind if you are beginning to make changes and you haven't done that for a while. Okay, let's talk about the second leg of the stool, this thing that is supporting my goals. The first one was how I nourish. The second one is closely related, and it is how I move. Now, for a long, long time, I just thought to get more fit, to lose weight, I had to move more. And when I started to play with this last year, it was like, what? This is how it works? I have been told that this works a completely different way than what I'm experiencing now in my body. And one of the best ways that I think about this is that if I have a goal of wanting to lose body fat, then the main lever to do that is through how I nourish or how I eat. And the reason for this is that the amount of time that it takes to burn off 100 or 200 calories versus what is in a slice of pizza is a correlation that just will never work for you if your mindset is, I just have to move more, run more, do more intense cardio. Because a half-hour run to an hour run can burn a couple hundred calories. And that's the same amount of calories in one slice of a medium pizza. So it's just simply so easy to overconsume the energy that we need if we're trying to put ourselves in a calorie deficit and we're asking our bodies to take the energy from the fat stores. And so diet is the lever that I am using to lose fat. And there is a couple things that I have read about and then actually tested to validate this. The first is that I heard about this news story about there was this guy who decided to only eat McDonald's for a few months. And he went about it in such a way that he was eating at a calorie deficit. So he was eating this fast food every day, but he was still eating less energy that his body needed. And he lost a lot of weight doing this. I read that, and it was completely opposite from that movie Super Size Me that guy Morgan Spurlock put out years back where he ate McDonald's every day and they showed how all of his health markers got worse. But he was not eating at a calorie deficit. He was just eating 3 meals a day at McDonald's. This story actually brought up something from my past because I was on this tour one time with this artist, and the drummer really wanted to lose some weight. And he understood this whole equation of calories in and calories out. And he decided to put himself on a regimen where he would essentially have a protein shake in the morning. He would go for an hour run every day. And then he was eating 2 frozen Weight Watcher meals a day. I don't remember the calorie deficit that he was trying to create, but when you're touring, you are subject to catering and to takeout food, and it's really, really hard to track. But like I mentioned in the last episode, prepackaged food can be a great resource to create a calorie deficit. And that's what my friend did. And he lost a ton of weight, and it's stayed off until this day. Now, this story about this McDonald's guy losing weight, it broke something in my brain to realize that you can be eating quote unquote unhealthy meals, but be in a calorie deficit and your body will still burn fat. And so last fall, I wanted to test it. And the way that I did was I built in to my meals every day a cookie and a bowl of ice cream. And so I did this for a month and a half. And so every day I was eating 1 cookie and 1 bowl of ice cream. And every week I was losing weight. So it is completely possible to eat nearly any food and put yourself in a calorie deficit. And this idea is important because if you're going to be putting yourself on a calorie deficit for an extended period of time, say a month, 2 months, 3 months, you want to, on some level, enjoy the foods that you're eating. You will experience maybe some discomfort because you're not eating as much energy as you used to, but you can enjoy the foods that you eat. Now, having done this before, I will say that if you're going to be doing a calorie deficit for an extended period of time, at some point, my body reacts much better to whole foods that are rich in micronutrients. Because if you are eating less and less calories over a month or two, let's say, then every calorie that you have needs to count more than at the beginning. So I found that not only do I feel better, more full, more satiated, but I feel like it's supporting my overall health when, by and large, I stick to whole foods. Okay, so if food is the main lever that I'm pulling to actually lose body fat, then what is the place of cardio? How do I move? Well, one thing that I learned that shifted some of my understanding about the energy that my body uses every day is that there are different types of energy or calorie expenditures that you are doing every day. Now, I'm going to show you a graph here to give you an idea of what's going on in your body every day. And you'll notice, first off, that your resting energy expenditure is the largest part of where calories are going. This is the basics of what it takes to actually run your body. These are the things that you are completely unaware of, your heart pumping, your organs running and working. Just think about it as the daily maintenance. So this is the largest energy expenditure that you have every day. Now, there's another section called the thermogenic effects of food. This is the energy that is used to actually digest your food. And it's one of the reasons why some people really promote, your protein intake, because protein has the highest thermogenic effect, meaning your body uses more energy to break down protein than carbs or fats. So if you eat a larger percentage of protein in your diet, your body's just going to actually use more energy to digest and break that down. Now, you'll notice something on this graph called NEAT, and this is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. These are the things that are not exercise-based, but the movement in our lives. The way that I'm talking right now with my hands, that is NEAT. The way that you might fidget when you're sitting at your desk, your knee might bounce up and down. That's neat. The interesting thing is that if you talk to competitors that do physique competitions, they will all let you know that when they're cutting down really low to try to get really shredded for stage, the body's homeostasis mechanisms, the smart rebalancing that it's always trying to do, it will actually minimize your NEAT. So if you're someone that talks with your hands, you'll notice that you no longer talk with your hands. Everything about your daily movements, all of this NEAT activity, your body just naturally throttles down because it's trying to conserve energy at every point. Now, the last section you can see is our voluntary exercise. So you can see even in this understanding presented in the graph form that your voluntary exercise is having such a small effect on the calories that you burn compared to all these other areas. And it gets even more interesting than that because, again, I was told and believed that to lose fat, I had to work really hard all the time. But there's this story about energy and glycogen that paints an entirely different picture. So when we eat, our body stores energy in our fat cells, but it stores a lot of the energy into our muscles as glycogen. Now, it turns out that high intensity exercises pulls from these glycogen stores dramatically. Now, this is a fantastic evolutionary design because if you need to move fast because of a predator or because of danger, you need that energy right away. And the process to get the energy from your fat stores to where it needs to be is a slower process. But if you only put yourself in this high intensity exercise all the time, then you are mostly pulling the energy from your glycogen stores. And while a higher intensity exercise can burn more calories, it also ignites your hunger cues more because you're depleting your glycogen stores in your muscles. And so your body is trying to create homeostasis, remember, and trying to keep things normal, and gives you a hunger cue like, whoa, we just burned a lot of glycogen. We need more. So please give us more. So your hunger really gets activated. But there's an interesting thing that health science has been understanding in just the last few years, and that is steady state cardio. This is also known sometimes as zone 2 cardio. If you keep your body in this zone 2 area, then your body doesn't need the glycogen because it knows that it's not in this high intensity environment. And so it actually prefers to burn fat in this situation. And when I heard this, my world was just flipped around because I learned that simply by going for a walk at an elevated pace is actually a better use of my time if I want to burn fat than doing sprints or biking at a really high intensity. Because remember, I'm creating my calorie deficit by eating at a deficit. So anything that I do from a movement standpoint is really just reinforcing that deficit and then putting me in a mode where it asks my body to use fat stores over glycogen stores. Now, if you want to begin to engage in a steady state or zone 2 cardio practice, it's so easy to do. All you need to do is go for a walk. And you can start with 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or 30 minutes, wherever you are at. And the beautiful thing is that going for a walk has all these other benefits. There are cardiovascular benefits from it. There are mental health aspects of it. There are mental health professionals that are starting to prescribe just going for a walk over taking a medication because we're realizing how beneficial it is just to move the body and what it does to our hormones and our brain chemistry and just to get blood flowing. If you're wondering what sort of pace I should be walking at, well, the general guideline is that you want to be walking fast enough where you feel like your heart rate is elevated, but that you can still carry on a conversation. And if you're going to start this practice from being completely stationary, just know that it's going to take some time even to condition your body to walk every day. And that may just look like deciding to go for a walk around the block 3 times a week. And if you stick with that, you will gain more endurance and momentum, and you can build from there. There's currently a 10,000 step rule that a lot of people go by, trying to get at least 10,000 steps in a day. And those are a combination of lifestyle steps, so whatever you may do during the day, as well as any intentional activity, in between breaks at work or at the end of your day or after a meal. But no matter how you decide to move, just know that you're giving your body such a gift just by moving. If it's the wintertime and you're stuck in your house in the Midwest or the North, just walk around your house 3 or 4 times. There's so many ways to do this, and you will feel the benefit of it if you stick with it and you stay consistent. Now, the way that I'm incorporating movement specifically for my goals is that I'm starting with a 30-minute walk every day. And I've grown to love this 30-minute walk, not only for understanding that it's reinforcing my calorie deficit, but also it's just a time to unplug. I can just go for a walk, let my mind wander and space out, or I can listen to a podcast or some music. It's turned into a very meditative sort of time for me. And this 30 minutes, I already know will grow longer as this 90-day opportunity continues. I intend to add more time and more steps and work it in whenever I can. So if I can't do it all in 30 minutes in one day, I'll go for a 15-minute walk in the morning. I'll go for a 15-minute walk in the evening. Last time when I did this, it became really easy when my kids' soccer season came around because I would take them to practice. And as they were practicing, I would just walk around the field the entire time. And sometimes I could walk for a half hour, 45 minutes, even an hour sometimes, and get all these additional steps, support my calorie deficit, and just feel great. Okay, so that is how I move. Not only how I'm moving my body, but how I'm moving through this 90-day opportunity, this new way to relate to myself, to understand this technology that is my body in these new ways. Thank you for watching and listening. I hope it was helpful. And until next time, be well.